Hello and welcome to the Mediacurrent Contrib Half-Hour. It is halfway through July, give or take. Today we're going to follow up again on migrating a site from Drupal 7 to Drupal 10 with a bit of follow-up on last week's project where we were writing a text filter. So, my name is Damien McKenna. I'm your host. I've been involved in the Drupal community since 2007. Do a bunch of stuff, but people recognize me as that guy with bunny ears who hops around the issue queues. My time is sponsored by Mediacurrent. We're an open source product agency, and our commitment to open source goes beyond the software. Next week, we're going to have an open discussion, look at some issues, some topics that have been brought up. And then following week, we'll follow up some more on getting this site onto Drupal 10. And plans for August have not been worked out yet. If you have thoughts, please post them in our planning issue. So some news from around the Drupal sphere. There was one security update this week for the TFA module for Drupal 8 and 9. There was also a policy change announcement, PSA 2023-07013. And the crux of it is that it means, actually that should be 0713, not 013. It was based on the date later. It means that low-ish level security updates or security issues that are reported that are not likely to cause major problems and most likely things that have a very low usage will possibly be posted as a public issue instead of keeping it exclusively as a private issue. So I do recommend reading through that PSA to get an understanding for the policy change. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out in the security discussion channel on Slack, the Drupal Slack. There was one bug fix release of Drupal 10.1, I think last week. But otherwise, things have been quiet on the core front. Two changes of note went into Drupal core for 10.2. The first one is that it's now possible to add a negated regular expression. So instead of the regular expression filter matching everything that matches the string, you can set it to anything that does not match the regular expression, which could be useful in, especially, I think, admin pages and that kind of stuff. Then there was a small API change on the menu link content class. Probably won't affect too many sites, but it's going to be one for sites that are interacting with menu link content class directly. As always, take a look at drupal.org/list-changes to get all the details on what's going on in core. Lots of events coming up next week. Wait, not this weekend. Next weekend is, or next week is Design for Drupal just north of Boston, Massachusetts. Then Drupal Camp Colorado in August, Decoupled Days also in middle of August. And Drupal Camp Atlanta back again in September, followed up by Twin Cities Drupal Camp. And then Drupal Days, Portugal. Lots of fun stuff. Marky, seeing as you're there, any updates on Decoupled Days?
Yeah, we're finalizing it. The last weekend to get the room at the block rate is this weekend. Otherwise you'll have to find other accommodations, but we're also keeping ticket sales at $25. We're not upping the price like we normally do. So come on out to the couple days in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if I can also say one other thing, you'll notice that if you log into Drupal.org, you'll get a nice little pop-up saying that there's a new code of conduct that's been published as well. So that went into effect July 1st, and you should notice that it's a little nicer, organized, and easier to read.
Cool. Yeah, I should have got to mention that. But yes, cool. Good work on that. Thank you. So anything else to share? Okay. In that case, let's pop into onto our main topic for this week, upgrading a site from Drupal 7 to Drupal 10. As always, we're starting within the Drupal UI and using the a bare bones install to run through the process, see what happens, rerun it, and see what can be improved upon, adding a couple of niceties to make life a little easier for us using the Gin theme and admin toolbar, and using Composer lots. And like I said, rinse, repeat until you're happy, and then run that migration. So let's dig into it. I wanted to follow up on last week's thing. We had been working on porting the spoiler module to Drupal 9 and above. And I finally got it to work with a bit of follow-up. Turned out it needed a little bit of TLC. Let me see, where is the right directory? Spoiler. Yes, so ended up needing to add some layers, more of the parfait rather than the ochre layers, but it wasn't enough in the process function to just return the string. It needed to use the filter process result class and use that for storing the replacement text. And it has the benefit of being able to do things like add an attachment. So when I reworked the CSS and JavaScript, bundled those into a library, I was able to easily add that to the display, and could improve that further to do a quick regex to see if the string exists before bothering, but that's something that can be done another time. And let me see what else was there. Move these pop-ups out of the way. I did need to add the renderer instead of using just the Drupal. One of the things is it needs to have an actual string in the processing. I can't just pass back a themed render array, or a render array with telling it which theme to use, etc. Because the text filter works on text and it's supposed to return text. So I had to add the renderer system via dependency injection. But with those bits and pieces in place, it was able to work. For the templated output, then the hook theme basically stayed as it was. I just had to create the file, rework it a little bit so it uses twig variables to output what it what we wanted to say. And then in the process function, we just tell it to use that theme function and pass in the spoiler variable, which corresponds to the item in hook theme. As you can see, variables spoiler defaults to null. And then in the twig file, it shows up here, this one variable output. I also wrapped the fixed strings in parentheses and passed it through the template. Sorry, not template, translation system so that the output is translated. And let me see, do I have this running? I don't. I might have it running. Let me see, where was I testing that? Evidently, not this one. Did I enable it here? I forget if I reinstalled the site here. Spoiler. Oh, as always, I'm tripping over myself. Wait, what? Modules been listed. Why is the spoiler not showing? Okay. In the right directory. I'm going to, just in case it's throwing things off. Or advanced info. Reload the page. Maybe now. Okay, there we go. So now it's working. That is an oddity where if one of the modules has an improper info file, it seemed like it wasn't letting other ones show. It wasn't fully loading everything. Anyway, so if I add an article with some stuff here, then let me see. I've set it up on the full HTML text filter. And then something goes here. Let's throw in some lorem ipsum. And throw in a few paragraph breaks. And because there's no WYSIWYG integration, I have to manually type this, but spoiler, then published. Let's save. It now gives you this nice little block indicating spoiler. You don't want to read this stuff. You might be spoiled for a lorem ipsum. You haven't done your Latin homework. Don't want to give it away, but you can click on there and it shows the text. So it works. Then click it again and it hides. That's all with the bundled CSS and JavaScript and the twig file. So that can be tweaked as needed by individual sites. So that is working nicely. Now let's add that to our Drupal 10 project. I'm going to, as you might remember, we're using Drupal Lenient to allow us to add modules to our code base that wouldn't otherwise work. So I'm going to do composer require, oh wait, composer config, no, composer config, yes, global, nope. Going to go back to the Drupal lenient plugin for docs because I forgot the command. Composer config merge allow list, and then so ddev composer config that. And then I'm going to paste in the name of the module spoiler. And I wonder will this work. So ddev composer require Drupal spoiler. Could not find package Drupal /spoiler. Most likely because there is no Drupal 8 or Drupal 9 version available. So we need to create an issue fork. And let's create a new branch. Oh, it already created a branch. That's fine. Let's reload the page so we make sure we got all of the commands as expected. Let's copy the commands. So in the code base here, local checkout using git status, just make sure everything is added. And then use the commands to switch or to tell it to use the branch, and then or the issue fork. And then connect to the branch, do git status, and you connected to the spoiler 3368775 port spoiler 2 because repository. So so now I can git commit initial port of spoiler to Drupal 9. And I've committed the changes and git push. So now those changes are up. Next step is I need to add a composer file because we can't add this issue fork to composer without a composer file. And because we're working with an issue fork, it bypasses the Drupal infrastructure's normal process of automatically generating a composer.json file. So I'm going to copy meta tags, composer file, and modify the composer file. Spoiler. A filter that masks spoilers using CSS. Let's remove some of the other stuff. Update links. Requirements. Let's leave it at, well, let me double check to see what spoiler info has. So spoiler info, that's right, because of one of the changes that was made, it specifically requires 9.3 or above. So let's change the info file here accordingly. There are no dev requirements because we don't have testing yet, test coverage. And one other thing, I want to update the spoiler attribution list. So, committers. So if we go to version control, wait, no, here's my superpowers. Get the URL. Oh, the committers page has been removed. That's new to me. Interesting. Because there used to be a nice, simple committers page that listed everybody who had commit access to the project. That has been replaced with a link. So now that URL redirects to the page on the GitLab repository, just showing you the commit history. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to remove the other option right now is just list the two maintainers directly. Maintainer. So properties, Morbus, and Morbus if, and then Zen. Okay, so that covers the composer file. Let's go back and commit this. So add composer, commit composer file, allowing the issue for to be used by composer. And push the changes up. And reload this. So I'm going to create a merge request just so we have it. Reload again because now I have a link to plain diff, etc. Now, back in the project, I need to tweak the composer file a little bit because I need to add a new repository and tell it to ignore the spoiler module from the main Drupal project repository and get it from here instead. So what we'll do is comma, and then type get, and then URL is the URL to the project here. Let's copy that, extract the HTTPS URL from the issue fork. I'm going to skip down to where I had added the project to lenient. Remove it from there. Let me see. Then I save that and then do ddev composer required Drupal spoiler, but I have to tell it to use this branch name. So it is, just so you can see, copying that line into text editor, I need this branch. And then back here, need to use dev dash. That prefix tells it to download the Git repository directly rather than a snapshot or something. Enter, and it should work. All right, fantastic. So now in the directory tree, we have spoiler with our info file. So now if I load up my Damien D10 site, I can forget to log in, forget my credentials entirely, cheat using Drush. Log in, then go to the extend page, and now I can find the spoiler module and install. So all that work. And now we can make sure that now when we have, or when we run the upgrade review, it will eventually indicate that spoiler is here. But there's one step missing. Really quick, in order to tell it that spoiler as a module is working and migrates from one to the other, there is an extra file that needs to be added to the code base. It goes in a directory called migrations state. And I'm going to add it here, and I'll upload it as a patch to a separate issue, spoiler, and let's see, these changes are finished. So all I have to do is remove everything else and then add a line that says spoiler. Copy. Oh wait, that has to go in a inside a directory called migrations. Then move state into there. So if I copy that to the working directory, and really quick, reload the review page. Spoilers no longer in the list of modules that will not be upgraded. Instead, it is down in the list of ones that will be. This is the very, very simple text filter. It should just work from one to the other. I'll follow up on that later, just to make sure the text, the machine names are the same. I believe they should be. Anyway, let's leave that there for today. We'll be back again next week. Bring your issues, bring your questions, bring your topics you want to discuss, and we'll see what we can work out together. Thank you for joining us. See you next week, and have a fantastic week. Thank you.
Thanks, Damien.